Hey YouTube, this is Surface Geeks, going to be Surface Geeks number 94. I'm Dave, this is Jim, and this is John. And this is a video podcast. This is a video edition of the audio podcast. If you would like to listen to the audio podcast, please head over to surfacegeeks.com. You can subscribe there. There's a player that's built right into the website. You can play there. You can choose from the last 3 episodes and listen as you want, whenever you want. We're also on TuneIn Radio. We're also in what's that other one, Jim?
Slacker.
No, not Slacker.
Oh,
Stitcher. Stitcher Radio. I never check Stitcher stats. I either have 12 or 12,000.
Well, they've been terribly inaccurate and not updating very often. So
yeah, so I don't know if the old Stitcher model is going to make it. But
TuneIn
Radio. If you have a Amazon Echo, you can just ask Alexa to play the podcast of your choice.
All 12 of you out there.
That means the video is a lot different. This is done for audio. So guys, don't be expecting a Windows 10 review and tons of screenshots in 3 minutes on Surface Pro 3.
Maybe an unboxing. You never know.
This is for audio. So there's my disclaimer.
So
all right.
Is everyone able to load the website okay? A little slow on my end loading up. SurfaceGeeks.net did not resolve it all when I first went to it.
Okay. There must be a network issue for you because I just loaded the website.
Okay. Loaded okay for me too.
To look up Stitcher. Stitcher.
Yeah, it's still dog.
I think the conversion of Stitcher to Deezer is really screwing them up.
Is that really happening?
Yeah. No, I think it is.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I actually liked Deezer. It wasn't horrible. Audio quality was good.
Yeah, I think they're converting databases and stuff. You get that feel because like we'll lose all stats for like 10 days.
Yeah.
And then
so
they're just
do they want to be like Spotify and have music and podcast?
Yes.
Spotify just did.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Sorry, chat. Got a little off.
That's okay. Chat room's all right. This is pre-show material. I got a stack of. Oh, let me do the Surface 3 case Italy. How about that? Okay, something's buzzing at me over here. We'll just talk about that.
Joe Miner. Did someone say unboxing?
Unboxing. All right. I think that's it, fellas. So be nimble with the links, and I'll fly through them. Where do we want to stick in the Win 10?
Actually, it looks like we have a breaking news that I'll save for later in the show.
Okay, breaking news. Then how about ban Surface Pro 3 LTE, 2 new Windows phones, Groove, breaking.
Okay. Not interested, but okay, put it in there.
Not interesting?
No, I'm personally not, but
oh,
that's a joke. It's a service waiting to die.
Groove, yes, that's fine. Whether we like it or not. Okay. Record. Oh, and I don't have a mute button. I'm not gonna mute my cough. I do. I'll try. I got the coughs.
I'll be giving you a hard time, Dave, as you do us.
My Baba says I have a sinus. Sorry, that was a stuffy nose joke. Ready? This is a Surface Geeks podcast, episode number 94, recorded on July the 8th, 2015. Welcome back to the Surface Geeks podcast. I'm your host, David McCabe. I've brought a friend with me. It's called a Cold. I actually picked this up from Europe. I have no idea where, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Because I'm joined tonight by 2 guest hosts, co-hosts actually. They're not guest hosts anymore. They're co-hosts. But it seems like we haven't done a podcast in a month, or maybe we haven't done a podcast in a month. So John Wiskowski and Mr. Jim Collison. Hey, guys.
Greetings, Dave. Good to be back.
Hey, Dave. Hey, podcast listeners. chat room,
Chat.
YouTubers.
Live chat, YouTubers, audio listeners. Yes, this is the Surface Geeks podcast. We are a member of the Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com, where you can find more podcasts like Mr. Wiskowski's podcast and Mr. Collison's podcast. There's all kinds of new ones out there. A couple we added a couple months ago, and we got a brand new one out there called Open Mic Night. You will find that one interesting if you like the other team. And by the other team, I mean it's a fruit and it has, Apple stuff. So actually, it's a really good show. You should tune into that, but definitely tune into everything that the Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com, everything we offer out there. It's a great, diverse smattering of podcasts and forums.
Smattering, like the Mott's
Smattering.
Applesauce podcast you're referring to.
Exactly. No, that's the smattering of the discharge from my European snot. So did a vacation, and I took technology with me, but I did not. I abstained. You know what I'm saying? For like 7 days, I didn't do anything. I was like, there's nothing. And then I got on a bus in Barcelona, and they had free Wi-Fi. So I checked in with John, and they're like, Dave, you're alive. And I'm like, quick, news, go. And they're like, oh, there's nothing.
It's all over.
It's over.
It's all over.
It's over.
Dave? Did you try to purchase any phone plan over there at all? O2 or some of the other services? Did you try that at all? Because I found that difficult when I was in Germany to make it all work and get the SIM card in and all. Just get that part working. And I just found Wi-Fi the easiest way to connect most times.
As did we.
Yeah.
But Verizon actually, for being a CDMA carrier, a lot of their phones do have GSM and LTE bands built into them. So if you're not familiar with your phone, and if it does, and you're going to have international travel, just call them. They have a global number. You call them up, and they'll tell you which phones on your plan you can use over there. But we only used one. When I left Chicago O'Hare, I put my telephone in airplane mode, and I did not take it off of airplane mode until about 14 days later, honestly. It stayed on Wi-Fi the whole time. We used an iPhone 6 as our international plan, and it's crazily expensive for what you get. So $40 gives you 30 days. It gives you 100 meg of data, woohoo, 100 minutes of calls, and 100 outgoing texts, free incoming texts. You can double all of that, basically up to $250. It's more than double for $80. That's a one-time fee, and it does not reoccur. So it's worth it if you need to make a call or two, to set up a tour or call your driver or whatever you're doing. And it's also worth it to check a few things for data. So, which we did if you're not on Wi-Fi.
I was surprised to hear you mention the challenges, Jim. From what I've heard on some other podcasts, or when people travel to go to some of these tech conferences, they make it sound like you hop off the plane, you pick up a SIM card out of a kiosk or, a little booth, and pop it in your phone and go.
Yeah, I didn't find it that easy. I mean, I think for me, I was there with my mom traveling. I didn't have a lot of time to kind of mess around, figure it out. Ended up just at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm good on the phone stuff. I'll just go with what I've got and use Wi-Fi. So
Nice.
O2 I bought a SIM card for O2. Had trouble getting working. When I came back to the United States, I found out that I had not properly unlocked the phone. That was part of the problem. So part of that's on me. I should have taken it in, because I thought it was unlocked. Should have taken it in. That's the other thing. Say, hey, is this absolutely completely unlocked? And because when I took it in, they're like, oh, well, no, it's not completely unlocked.
Okay.
Well,
So
that's
that's
helpful.
Yeah, but that makes me feel a little bit better. If you have a true unlocked phone,
Yeah, I think it's
like I happen to buy, it's probably
SIM
much
cards and you're in business.
I did experience that, John. As soon as I got off the airport in Rome, there were booths with people
Yeah,
that
oh
you
yeah.
could actually speak with selling SIM cards. So I found that it would probably be pretty easy. I just didn't price it because we thought we were covered, and which we were. We didn't go over our allotment, and honestly, it was a vacation. It was meant to vacate from that internet thing, which was good because when I got back, it was honestly when I was out, not a whole lot happened. It seems like everything has happened this week, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
Well, everyone knew that you were going on this vacation, Dave, and they planned their
Exactly.
vacations accordingly. So
Exactly.
took care of itself.
Everybody knew. So, just to start us out, June 20th, 2015 has come and gone, and I wanted just to ask you guys. I was out on vacation over the 20th, but do you guys remember the significance of June 20th, 2014? Maybe a small anniversary? Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. May 20th, 2014, when there was an announcement, and then a month later it was released, and it's been a year. So we have an anniversary to celebrate. Surface Pro 3. I don't know if it was this celebrated, tweeted, anything? Or did people just complain that we don't have a new one?
I didn't hear much about it. It's surprised as you were thinking about that. I was like, is that when it came out? No, I didn't see much traffic at all on it. Kind of slid by. There's been so much Apple news on everything that's going on in that realm. I'm just not sure when your anniversary is. Well, and they released the Surface 3, sometime back, and that's been some run. So I didn't see anything on it.
Maybe that somewhat took its. Sorry, I had the camera on me the whole time. So sorry, YouTube. Maybe that kind of stole its thunder. But May 20th, 2014, Surface Pro 3 was announced. Like a week later, I got mine for review, and then everybody had theirs. And then June 20th, they came out. They hit the streets. I mailed my review unit back. I actually purchased my i5. At Surface Pro 3 i5. I ended up returning it exactly 30 days later. Bought the i3, which is still in my arsenal, and I love that device. So I just thought I would give a little happy birthday to Surface Pro 3 because there seems to be a lot of, I don't know if it's resentment towards the company because we don't have a Pro 4 yet, but there's a lot of angst out there on that. And I wanted to also share, I'm doing some reviews on cases, and I know, John, you were interested in some of the case reviews. I have not followed back up with it, but I thought I would give everybody out there in the in podcast listener land the scoop on at least one of them. And this is the one I traveled with. I traveled with Surface 3, and I traveled with the Urban Armor Gear. This thing
in black
is a beast. Yes, it's a black. It's out of reach. I have another one for Pro 3 in red.
Yeah, I was gonna say they also make a red.
Yeah. So these will all be at Meetup 2015. I'm probably gonna give this away. I don't think that I need this as a daily driver, but I've kept it on since returning from Italy. Notice there's nothing wrong with this Surface 3. It lasted all that international travel. This thing's a beast. This is, when they say armor, it is armor for your Surface 3. So it's going to completely get a recommendation from me as the total protection. Has a pin holder at the top. Never once lost the pin. I did not use this a lot, guys. I'll be honest with you. I didn't use Surface 3 a lot. I used the phone to just listen to music, listen to podcasts I downloaded. I didn't use a whole lot of tech. Now we did look through pictures on here, which was great to be able to do. However, guys, where is the SD card on this? So there's your con, C-O-N. That is the first con about Urban Armor Gear, is in order to get to the SD card, you've got to pull it all apart and get to it right there. You can see.
But how often do you really need to get to it?
When family wants to look at pictures, a lot. And this is the only device, yes, a lot.
if you weren't traveling, you'd probably have a cloud service, right? That was uploading those, and you would have looked at them that way.
Yes, or
What Jim and I are thinking.
do it this way. This says
USB.
This says iFi on it. I was gonna.
Yeah.
It's a little card extender.
Yep.
Doo-wop-y. And then that way you can get the big card from your camera, and then if you need to, you get the little card with the little adapter. Travel with that. So I was gonna say that's your one thing to solve. The second thing is the stand is, it's okay. It's not as good as the Surface stand. I'm gonna put it that way. But then again, if they made it as good as the Surface stand, this thing would be over $100, and no one's gonna buy it for that. It does have, multiple spots, which you can make this work. You can make this work and protect your Surface. Pick your poison here. So I think that is the only other con, that it's not a perfect stand, but it's a good stand. So Urban Armor gear. I mean, it's a beast. I can totally recommend this. And a Meetup 2015 is a meetup of all of us geeks here in Indianapolis, and I'm not going to send that back to the manufacturer. I'm going to give it away at Meetup. How's that? Now, there's some other ones over there that are really nice, like little bags and stuff. I may keep those. I don't know. I may keep one. I'm going to give them all away. What am I talking about? We'll give them away at Meetup. Okay. Microsoft Band had some new things going on. I noticed there's some golf features. And if you look at the Surface Geeks website, there's I ran into a guy here in Indianapolis that did a whole bunch of UI workups. John, did you get a chance to see that post out there?
I want to say I saw it in my timeline, but I don't know if I...
it was actually a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, that's why
you're drawing a blank. I'll just say, John's mic is cutting out. So, Jim...
Is it really? Is my mic cutting out?
No, I'm just
kidding. He
was
just
okay. Just making sure, because I am having some technical difficulties on my side.
Well,
Thanks.
My band, I sold it. I sold my band. Just trying to clear out gear. I've got this huge list of gear I'm trying to sell, and ended up selling it before this golf update came out. But this thing will keep track of your golf scores and your swing and your steps and distance to the hole. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah, and there was some talk. I was listening to a podcast and I forget what it was. They were talking about when this was going to come. It was days before they announced it hitting, and then boom, it hit 2 or 3 days later. And I've actually thought, so I'm not a golfer, but this last spring I've really gotten into disc golf. And I don't keep track of my score. That's not necessarily a sport that is known for its scorekeeping, right? So,
okay.
Although it's getting real popular. I mean, it's getting real mainstream. I think a couple years ago it was for stoners and drinkers and those kinds of things. But it's gone very mainstream. Disc golf has. Now we have 6 courses here in Omaha, and you go to any one of them on the weekend, they're jammed all weekend. You don't have to pay anything for it. The discs are inexpensive, but I think that would be an ideal situation to have. I've used my GPS watch to sometimes track my walking distance on the course. There are some guys who are now starting to carry the distance finders to get distance to the pin and things like that. I would think that'd make a great addition. That's one of those kind of things like, oh man, I don't have a lot of use for a band in a lot of ways, the way my lifestyle. But that'd be kind of cool to turn that from regular golf to disc golf. So I think for me, that if I were going to do some things like that, keep track of shots and scores and things like that, be really helpful to have it on a course.
And what I think is most exciting about the band update is now you can see emojis on the screen. They actually display properly. You don't just see the ASCII characters. So
okay,
that's in there too.
Emojis it's huge.
And I will say, one of the most questioned topics, one of that people come to me. I'm kind of a what do we call ourselves, Dave? A technology influencer. What are our titles? Aficionado, social media.
You're the go-to guy for your family and your business, right?
But people come to me and they say, John, let me ask you something, John. When's the next Microsoft Band coming out? And I get that question probably once a week and not from the same person. So I will say that. So the band received pretty good press.
Mhm.
And continues to, and there are guys debating buying one, and they're kind of afraid there might be one this fall. And I said I don't have an answer for them. I don't. I told them the pros and cons about the band, but there are definitely some people out there continuing to watch the Microsoft band, thinking about switching to it, and for sure waiting to see if and when version 2 arrives.
I'm excited about version 2. If there is a version 2, everybody assumes there is. Of course, we never know. We never know when it's coming out. The last one came out, I want to say mid to late October. I don't exactly remember when. I remember having it a week, and then we went to Seattle, and there were very few there because they sold out so fast, and people underestimated how cool they were going to be. And I remember having one, and everybody was asking to see it. So.
Yeah, it was October 30th, 2014.
Okay. Late October. That's cool.
But I did tell people that especially the band continues to get more and more features, which is great. So you're a runner, walker, playing some golf. It's nice to see it continually get updates and work on whatever platform they want to use.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the software is constantly getting updates. It makes me think back to a post. This was, I can't remember exactly when, but a couple of weeks ago, if not a month ago, when someone outed, I think The Verge outed Moonraker, was a Nokia build of a watch, like a smartwatch, and it looked just super cool. It had those very bright Nokia colors and a big, bright, beautiful screen, and it made me just kind of daydream about a new band becoming less of a band and maybe more of a watch, and have all of that interactivity, built into a screen.
Or you can have two. You can have a band and a watch, right? So there's no reason to stop making the band, right? Unless they have to, component-wise, or they could update the band and do a watch. We'll have to see what.
True, absolutely.
There was an announcement about the Apple Watch decreasing their sales. We're down 90% in this last sales cycle, whatever that was. We haven't. I don't know if we've heard any statistics on the band, but it'd be interesting to know where those sales are at now with them. What's the trickle effect? We couldn't get them for the longest time. They weren't available.
And they weren't available in the UK until they kind of came back, I believe, right? So
yeah. We sent one to Ian. Somebody carried one over there from him from the US. He's probably right now, at least though the guys that I follow, he probably keeps track of the band, Ian Dixon, better than anybody at this point. But it's one of those things that as we talk about form factor, I love the band form factor. I've said before, I wish that flat part was just curved a little bit. It would be a little more comfortable, right, if we did it that way. I wear a Garmin Forerunner watch. That's one of their newer ones, super light. It's the watch style, the round style here that we have here. And I don't know. For what the band does, I like that form factor. And
sure.
I don't know if I would want the band functionality jammed into a circular watch. I don't like where Apple has gone with their display on the watch. I think it's a little clunky to use, and I think it works on the band. I think the way Microsoft's doing it and the way it's set up, I think it works really well. So I'd rather have that form factor. It'd be interesting to see where their sales have gone. I don't know, Dave, have you heard anything on band sales, or Microsoft probably doesn't disclose that much?
I have not whatsoever. Yeah. I have not, and nor have I been informed. But I like the band over. I bought an Android Wear watch, and I still have it actually. The prices dropped out of the bottom of that thing, so I'm probably not going to be able to get rid of it. And I liked the band glance factor, where I could just bam, I know my steps, bam, I know the time, I'm done.
Yep.
And when you're in a situation like we were talking about earlier with John, when you're in a situation you need to get glanceable information without pulling your phone out, you can. Who's calling me? Who just texted? Who sent a message? You can do that. I'm not the kind that just sit there on my watch and tinker.
Right.
And I
You don't
heard
need
a
apps.
podcast from a huge Apple podcast guy a couple of maybe a month ago or so, talking about how they were at dinner and the Apple Watch saved dinner because he was able to take it off and hand it to a child to play with, or I can't remember if he was like his anniversary, Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day. Everybody went to the bathroom, and he finally had some time to entertain himself with his Apple Watch, and I was pretty much disgusted by it. But that's not me, and that's probably why I didn't really enjoy the LG G Watch. Is it? I might now. I try to take things out every couple of months and experience the updates and the new things that people are doing with them. But
You can kind of forget about Android Wear. I think it's kind of gotten worse with some of the updates. Personally, I really love the band. It's my favorite wearable. I just would like to see them trim down the hardware a little bit. It's a little thick. I think the screen should be bigger for how thick the band is, that kind of thing. So that's why I'm really curious to see a version 2, because I don't think they have to do too much to the software. It's just trim up the hardware a little bit.
And generally that's where technology goes, right?
Yeah.
We can kind of see that.
Yeah. Smaller, thinner.
It doesn't make you happy to like version 1 and you just know, oh man, version 2, it's there. It's so there. So yeah, I'm excited about it too. I as soon as it hits the stores, whatever the price, I'm in. I
think I'm with you, Dave. I think this time, it kind of caught me off guard the last time, and then you couldn't find them. And by the time they got in stock, the momentum was over. I had seen yours. It was just like, I think this time though it hits. I think I'm going to get to the store. Do everything I can to get that, because especially if it's in a similar price point. I mean, that's a very
$199, which is
cheaper. It was cheaper than this Garmin watch, and
I
think
$200 is expensive to a lot of people, though, Jim.
I know.
That's a lot to buy.
Yeah.
But it's for a certain market. So
True.
It's a market that tends to have a gym membership, or really good running shoes, or special headphones, or
press
armbands for their.
You get 2 out of 3 for me there, John.
Yeah. we bought them all.
Sure.
So everybody is wondering what in the world is going on. Excuse me, with Surface Pro 3. Paul Thurrott saying, why did Microsoft just release a Surface Pro 3 brand new model? So they did. There's a brand new Surface Pro 3 out there in the channel, guys. And I realize this is a couple of weeks old, but I think it's interesting to talk about nonetheless. So everybody knows the rundown of Surface Pro 3. i3, i5, and i7s. So the price point for Core i7s is just astronomical. I mean, they start at $1,500, and the big dog is $1,900, $2,000. And don't let me forget to tell you about a cool story. I went to Best Buy the other day. So the new model sits in between the i5 and the i7 price range. Have you guys remember this story from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so the new one is a Core i7. It's 8 gigs of RAM, and it's a 128 SSD. So they've reduced the SSD size because the i7 used to come with a 256 and a 512.
Yeah, because I think that's the most expensive component. I could be wrong, but it's of the three, the processor, the RAM. At this point, because that processor's been out for a while, we know how cheap RAM is. But we know a 512 SSD. That's hard to have a low price device with that in there.
Correct. Well, and SSD and high-speed storage has been drastically falling. I mean, drastically falling. So this is nice. It's $12.99, and this is literally just right above. I mean, the Core i5 that I purchased personally was $9.99. So you're not talking about a whole lot more to get the extra RAM, the extra CPU speed. Yeah. So that's what you need.
Don in chat says that's the one he'd purchase if it was, that I think he's referring to this middle version. Dave, the only thing I can think of is they got a lot of requests for this size in particular, and it may be a sweet spot for developers or for folks who need, they're connecting. They don't need a lot of local space, but they want that Core i7, and so drop that SSD down,
Yep.
ramp up the chip, make it faster, a little bit hotter. In that, but they must have gotten a lot of requests. I can't imagine doing that form factor, sending it to the factory, getting it tested, unless they had some good data saying that this was going to sell well. Just can't imagine why midstream they would change the form factor unless they were getting a lot of requests for it or a bulk order. Someone said,
Yep.
HP or someone big said, hey, we're going to buy, thousands of these, and they're like, well, if we're going to do it this way, let's just make it available to the consumers and press out a few more of these. That's the other thing, maybe a government, something along those lines.
Well, it's interesting you said that because my workplace, if they were going to buy Surface Pros for us to replace our computers, it would probably be a model like this.
Yeah, I think for an enterprise, this is a pretty good size. I mean, I wouldn't be a developer. This is not a developer model, right? 128 gig for developers unless they're connecting to a cloud like a Visual Studio in the cloud or something like that. This is not that developer size. But for some power users, for the average user, for the managers, for those kinds of things, this would be a great PC. I'd love to have a Core i7 with. I don't use much memory on my PC at work. I have a Core i5 and maybe a 250 gig hard drive on mine. It works great, but this would be nice, right? And the price point's in a pretty decent spot. So,
It'd be a great desktop. I'd love that as a desktop.
Yeah, that would be awesome with the.
It would be nice, and I know this would have skewed the price, but we still don't have a 16 gig option on these things. And from a RAM standpoint, that would have been a nice add-on because then you can start doing some virtualization stuff. Now, with that being said, if you're going to do virtualization, you really got to have a larger hard drive. So you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do a 128 gig SSD.
You have to do the 512.
Yeah, you would want the 512.
And that's probably like $2,000 or
at least
17.99.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, at that point, you're probably going to be you probably would be working with external storage and some iSCSI devices and external NAS and what have you. But why? I think the question or the answer was great, Jim. I think maybe a big order, an enterprise order, coupled with probably some sales statistics of the Core i7 model in general and the price point.
Yeah. And the components maybe they had more i7s, less of the 512 hard drives, the 128s being used, more and more. I mean, but it is interesting to see that it was worth for them to come out with a new model than it was to just drop the price of the current models because they could have done that. They could have done a permanent price cut on the 256 and the 512 model, right? But
sure,
so it certainly is interesting. So
and they have done some.
When people pick these up, and if they could hit the forums, if you do, is there anything else different? The firmware builds, the placement of something, or the
probably need to run like a CPU plus.
Yeah.
Is that the little utility that tells us chipset and all that kind of good stuff?
The webcam, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, is there any other little thing?
Right. Well, let's just tear it down live.
All right.
So someone go buy it, and we'll just tear it down.
Get out the blades.
Jim, you're up.
Okay, it's my turn.
So a lot of people were trying to read tea leaves about Surface Pro 3 and Surface Pro 4, and I don't think I'm kind of with you guys. I don't think there's a big stink to raise about this.
Well, I think we can say there's probably no Pro 4 this year.
Well, I mean, that was bantered around a lot today. Yep. And I think everybody came to the conclusion, okay, today they said there's no Surface Pro 4.
This year, I will say.
This year.
Yeah.
But do you think, if we're going down that road, do you think there's an update to Surface Pro 3?
Nope.
Beyond this one? New chipsets? Do they rework that thing and then spit out a brand new one? Or is the entire public just ready to move on to Surface Pro 4? Whatever that may be.
I don't know, because I'm assuming they're waiting for Skylake. That's just my assumption. And they're not going to do a fanless Pro. At least I don't think so. They might. There's rumors that they could do that. I think they'll upset a good chunk of their core market that want power and performance. So I think you could use the same form factor with this Skylake architecture. That's probably possible. But I think they're going to want to call it a 4. I don't think it's going to be a Pro 3 Plus or something like that.
I don't, personally, I don't see a reason why I have to have a brand new form factor. Think about this whole, especially this Windows Phone thing that we're going through right now. We'll talk about here in a little bit. But you get good at a certain design, and you can make it faster, better, and cheaper as the years go by. Your sources get better, your processing gets better, your man hours reduce, and hello, I'm talking about the iPhone, right?
iPad, the MacBooks.
Yeah.
I mean, how often are the MacBooks changed physically?
Yeah, there are 2 years in each design, and
longer than that.
And they are able to decrease their costs and increase their margins.
Yes.
So I don't see any reason why a Surface Pro 3 chassis cannot get an update and stay a little fanless. I mean, stay built in with a fan if need be, and just iterate. I would buy a new. This is a 3, a new Surface Pro 3 with a new chipset for longer battery life. More storage. Give me an 8 gigs on an i3. Throw something different at me that's improved, and I will buy it. And I think you'll find a lot of need out there. So that just proves to you that I have no idea what Microsoft is doing, even though I am a Surface MVP. And I will tell you that I don't think Surface program's going anywhere. July 1st, I got my MVP reinstated. So that doesn't mean much. They could just pull the plug anytime they want. But I don't think they're doing that.
I don't think they're
guys.
thinking about the MVPs.
Yeah. Well, wait a second.
Making those decisions. We
No,
don't
that's
got
wrong.
MVPs out there.
What do we tell Dave?
We are first. We are first on their minds.
Yeah. No,
Oh my God, what's Dave going to say?
Congratulations on that, though. By the way, that's a big.
It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, meaning no, they don't. They would pull the plug on us and ship us over to Windows, in a heartbeat.
You
but
join me over there, Dave.
One note, baby. One note.
Yeah. Where are we going here? Surface 3 with LTE was released. Hey, there's some good news.
No, that's. I think it's released to who?
Okay,
where can I buy this? Can I buy this? Can you buy it?
I'm fishing. I hooked you. I'm reeling you in.
And how many businesses are asking for this model? Isn't this more of a consumer model?
Where can we get this? In Japan or something?
Yeah. So, well, it's going to come eventually, hopefully. I mean, remember when it first came out, and there was a ship date on the store, and I think it was July something, right? Like end of July. So they could technically still hit that leaked, accidental, mistaken date or whatever that was.
I still think they've done it just to say we've done it.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't buy it. We're not doing it again. I think
but first you got to allow me to maybe buy it. Before
I think they will.
Judge that.
I think they will. And
we'll see.
No one's going to buy it. There's going to be a couple that are going to buy it. I personally know a few people that are going to buy it.
I feel sorry for the people that waited. That's it. You know what? I'm gonna wait this time, and get my LT model. But and I'll throw in there. I would love to see a Pro 3/Pro 4 with LT as well, but we'll see.
And although I like it, I like the ability to have an LTE SIM in a tablet. I have recently turned my LTE SIM off, and I will probably pick one up again prior to CES if I feel the need. I don't know if I will yet, but I may do that. So maybe I've changed my mind too. I don't get out and about enough.
Yeah, it's just those few times you do though. You're someplace, you just pull out your tablet and you go. You don't connect to a Wi-Fi. You
Sure
don't
is
accept the
nice.
captive portal. You don't have
Sure
to
is nice.
remember your Bright House log, or cable provider network
know.
login.
I completely understand you. I completely understand.
Although I have seen places, and I will use my cable provider, they now offer a secure wireless network in all the places that they offer Wi-Fi, and you log in with your credentials, and you can save that. So there's no more captive portal, right? You're just like logging into the network like you would your home network with a username and password, and I'm really liking that. So if we start to see that happen more and more, where your devices can just remember your password, and of course Windows devices share the passwords between them, so you put it in one Windows device, it's in them all. So yeah, there's a question of whether or not it's needed, but hey, if I'm willing to pay for it, someone should be willing to sell it.
Right, and honestly, it was only $10 a month for LTE SIM for me, and honestly, the tablet that I had was a G-Pad Android tablet. Its LTE was better than my phone, which my phone was a brand new LG G3. When I was in CES, I was staying at the Luxor, and I would turn on LTE on the tablet, share as a hotspot, go set it over by the window, and it was faster for me to connect to it via Wi-Fi with my phone than it was for me to use the phone LTE to go out. That was convoluted description, but let's just say it was faster. I don't know if anybody actually caught that.
I did.
I know we're going to be talking about Windows Phone later, but there were a couple of new releases. You can actually buy it now, the 940 XL, which is kind of the coveted. You can buy it.
Dave, say what you just said again.
What?
You can buy the
640 XL USA LTE version.
You said 9, Dave. You said 940 XL, and you got a lot of people excited out there listening because you have a 940. Yeah, please.
640 XL. 940 is the coveted new flagship.
1520.
We'll say quote unquote flagship.
Yep.
So,
but yeah, 640 XL available as an import from Amazon, from from the B&H Photos, Newegg, Expansys, and even more importantly, available from AT&T. And they said it would only be available at AT&T stores. It's actually at the Microsoft stores as well, so you can go and check it out. See the 640 XL. It's an excellent device. $249 off contract. You can pay it off monthly if you're one of those people, but hey, it's $250. And you can buy it even less than that, but just be careful with imports. You got to worry about your carrier and the bands and whether or not it really gets LTE and that kind of stuff. If you need help, hit up the chat, hit up the forums. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, 640 XL, pretty much.
Have you seen it? Have you looked at it, John? I haven't been to a Microsoft store in months.
No, because I know I will buy it. So the next time I go to the mall,
weak spot.
I'll be coming home with a 640 XL. Yeah, so I think it's almost perfect. If it had 2 gigs of RAM, I would have bought it already without even thinking about it. It only has 1 gig of RAM, but hey, I'm still using my 635 on and off, and it only has 512 RAM. It still amazes me that once you get it set up and everything's settled down, the thing works.
It's a good little phone. Yes.
Yeah. And I will add, we don't have it here. I don't know if we've talked about it. The 735 is finally available on Verizon, almost a year after launch.
I saw that in the store. I did.
One of my good friends, listener of the show, Joe, picked one up. He traded in his LG G3 for a Lumia 735 on Verizon. He's got wireless charging, an AMOLED screen.
Wow, you really got to his head.
Well, yeah, I couldn't believe it when he told me what he was getting. But he's happy because he has an affordable phone that he really loves using. So
yeah, there you go. Very well. Very well. I skipped over my cool story. I was at Best Buy 2 or 3 days ago, and I was in the tablet section, and there was a young lady looking at Surface Pro 3, and the Best Buy rep was talking about the i3 versus the i5. And he kept going to the i5. This is the one you want to get. This is the one you want to get. And John, it took everything in my being not to go over there and slap him and tell him this i3 will handle what she's trying to do. She was talking about just looking through photos and arranging things and doing normal everyday stuff. She was set on the i5 for $999. He had the hook in her. She was going to do that. Then he dropped but you need a keyboard for another $129 more.
Yep.
She walked out with a $550 Asus touchscreen laptop.
Yep.
And did not get the Surface Pro 3, where I believe if he would have gone down to the i3, been educated enough to give her the i3 option with the keyboard, he would have sold a Surface Pro 3 instead of a, albeit nice laptop, but she came in for Surface.
Yeah.
She walked out with
Yeah,
Asus.
they did the same thing to me at the Microsoft store until I told them my friend is an MVP, and then they just stopped. But yeah, they really love pushing that i5 model, and I'm assuming it's the profit margin. The component cost isn't that much difference, and it's $200 more. But they must be told to push that, or it's the safe bet. But I mean, if I was that guy, I'd say, once you get the i3, if you're not happy, you have either 14 days or 30 days to come in, depending on your reward status, and we'll go ahead and upgrade you. But yeah, that's still one of the killers about the keyboard. We don't talk much about it, but it does hurt, right? And then the guy might have tried to throw him onto the service plan, the Geek Squad stuff or whatever. And it's
after he lost the Surface sale, I kind of moved on.
And then Office 365, right? If he was good, if he was doing his job, that was going to get brought up as well. So
yeah.
Next thing you know, it's $1,500, $1,600, and for $550. And I wonder if that laptop came with Office 365, but it could have come with some kind of Office.
I don't know. So I was gonna make a purchase that day, and I was just so disgusted that I could not do it. And actually, that was the day I started feeling sick. So I just wiped snot on everything and left. That was a joke. Sorry. I know it was disgusting. Groove. I'm feeling groovy. I'm not feeling Xboxy. So I have Xbox Music. Do I get Groove, John?
Well, I'm very unhappy because my OneDrive music no longer plays back on my Xbox Music app on my Lumia 635, and I can't fix it.
I thought it was supposed to.
And it won't play back on my web player either.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
it's supposed to.
No, and it has. It always has. It just stopped. And I'm convinced it's because they're migrating everything over to Groove.
Right.
So I'm kind of angry at Groove right now. It's just a rebranding. You know, there's brand new apps coming to Windows 10 and Windows 10 Mobile for music and TV and movies. And the first thing to go was the Xbox branding. That was kind of, you saw that falling off some of these apps. So, for example, Xbox Video is now TV and movies. I guess they don't have to trademark that. But the music app, formerly Xbox Music, is now Groove. But as far as we know, no announcements about pricing, no announcements about is it anything different, is it this, that, or the other thing. As far as we know, same great service you've come to know and love. That used to come with a free Lumia 635, and that's how I got mine, is now called Groove.
It's called Groove. Okay, I'm fine with that. Because I think there was a big... I mean, not that the Groove name is really, like, awesome, but I think there was a big misunderstanding with Xbox Music.
People simply needed an Xbox.
Exactly. I would show them how cool Xbox Music was and how I could just request a song, and it was just there. And I got that a couple times from my neighbors, like, but we don't want our kids to have Xbox yet. They're too young. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah. Wasn't great branding. So yeah, it's good to have its own name. And of course, right now there's a heated battle going on between Apple Music and Spotify. And believe it or not, Spotify is actually doing pretty well. So the music space, especially streaming music, is really interesting right now. So I think honestly, no matter what they call it, it's not going to get much attention. But it's good that it's there.
Right. Okay, so we'll move on. We don't need to beat a Groove horse. Let's talk real quickly about these two Windows phones, or whatever's going on with today's news, and then we're going to jump into Windows 10 on Surface Pro 3. But I need to tell everybody out there on YouTube, this is an audio podcast. We record this for audio at surfacegeeks.net, surfacegeeks.com. Whatever you like, you can come out and chat and ask questions right now. If you're watching live on YouTube, surfacegeeks.com/live. There's a chat room there. No passwords, no sign-ins. No stuff to remember. Just get in there, ask questions. We will be there. Okay. Today was huge. I mean, today was huge. Microsoft came out and said they're going to write off pretty much. I better not get this wrong. Write off or write down. I'll have to look that up because they are different. Almost the exact amount that they paid for Nokia, the hardware division, and the things that they got. Although there have been some sales of other units and other properties that have put it better in the positive. But the whole negative to this was 7,800 jobs are now lost that were incorporated into Microsoft. And it looked at first to be a big blow to Windows Phone. Now, John, Jim, were you covering this this crazy happening today?
Yes.
I know you were, John. We were on Messenger like crazy this morning.
Yeah, and it's important to me because I really do love the Windows Phone platform, and those of us that like the platform and even others have been waiting. We're just constantly waiting. That's our life on Windows Phone, right? When are there going to be phones that we want to buy or desire to buy or want to save up money for, or take pictures that are as great as the 1020, which I don't even know how old that is now, has the screen the size of the 1520, which they don't even sell anymore, feels as good in hand as the 920 and the 930, which never even actually got sold in the U.S. except under the Icon name on Verizon. So it was tough to hear what we did without a clear explanation, and I think that's the toughest part. There's been a lot of things going on now in technology, and corporations are really dropping the ball by not communicating properly and saying, hey, we have a message, we're going to tell you that message, but we're also going to tell you what it means. And what happened today was there was a message presented, but no explanation of it. There's been explanations leaking out. In fact, right before we started this show, we got an update from Bloomberg that Windows Central picked up. So we have some answers, but I should say we have some clues. I don't know if we have answers yet, but it's really tough to throw something out there to the market. And of course, everything was really weird today because the stock market was actually closed for a while due to some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
They must have been using Google Hangouts. But yeah, there was it's definitely an interesting day. It started off really grim. People in other countries very upset about losing their jobs, closing factories. People upset about the loss. People worried about the way some of the quotes were being understood and read. But I would like to focus on what's kind of like the breaking news tonight. Per Bloomberg, they have sources and they have some quotes from people, and they want to be clear, including things that come from even the COO, Kevin Turner, and I will quote this, that moving forward, we will focus on building the very best Windows phones on a quicker timeline. And that's something that kind of came out earlier. And what we've got tonight to add to that was Microsoft plans to concentrate on three categories: the business phones, high-end models, and the value phones like the 520. And this is something that a lot of us have been asking for a while. I used to joke that they only need 3 phones. I actually think it's 6 phones because they need a small and a large at each of those little categories, as they call them. But the Lumia 520 sold over 25 million units. I mean, that's pretty solid. The problem is they only made $1, right? Or they didn't make anything on that phone. So I think you're going to see them shift to more of a Surface approach, and they're actually calling it that. We're going to take the Surface approach, and I think that means they're going to pick a certain segment of the market. In this case, Microsoft chose a tablet that could replace a laptop, but remember, it's not a 2-in-1, it's not a convertible, it's kind of this unique thing. So I think you're going to see Microsoft do that with their phones, knowing they're only going to sell X number, but turn it into a profitable business. Surface struggled in the beginning. Surface Pro 3 is the best-selling Surface ever. As far as we can tell, Surface 3 is selling decently. They're making money with it, and I think that's going to be their plan for Windows Phone. Temper the expectations on volume, but attempt to make profitable phones, as much as they can. And what we got at the end of the day was, regardless of the expectations, Microsoft will stick to making Windows phones for at least the next 2 years. That was the big line of this article. 2 years of first-party Windows 10 mobile devices.
So we're going to stick with just a couple in each category. Is that what you said?
Yep. And I think the business part is key, right? Because I think that could be their savior. Um, BlackBerry's kind of gone. They might even actually switch to Android, and there are some companies that are just anti-Android in the workplace. Some are coming around. But I think they got to make sure they have phones that corporations, the enterprise and businesses can buy and distribute to their employees. They have to have high-end models because some of us think that's what's really hurt them, right? That they could have even sold more 630s and 530s if they had a 1030 that everyone really wanted, right? Just throwing out numbers there, I know. But they need to have the high-end phones for you, me, and all the other fans out there, right? And then they have to have the budgets. They have to have the stuff that saves them, the phones that are 50, 100, 150 bucks that you buy and you're like, wow, this is the best $100 I've ever spent. This thing's pretty good. So I think those are the right three categories to target. Will they do them all at once? I don't know. Will it be a phased approach? Will there be some growing pains? But first things first, I would say finish Windows 10 Mobile. Try to get it working on as many current gen devices as you can. And we're still hoping they target the high end this fall, if the rumors are true. And then maybe next year you see them fine-tune their corporate and their low-end strategy.
Oh, yikes! It just gives me heartburn just to even think about it. I mean, I don't want them to discontinue the thing, but this chasm in between. I'm going to say flagship, and I'm starting to hate that term. But
they call it a hero phone. Apparently, Windows Phone fans call them hero phones, so maybe we should be calling it that, Dave.
Okay, so hero phones. Well, give me my big Hero 6. Where is it? That's what I want. And all these guys that have been holding on to these old Windows phones because there's nothing new to move to, and poor guys can't move on. They're holding on to their old phones, waiting for something.
Yep, they have to get something out there, and they have to get people talking, right? They need a couple people to show up someplace, and someone asks, "Oh, what phone is that? That looks pretty cool," or "I can't believe how great those photos are. That was taken on my 940 XL," and hopefully they use this time to change the naming scheme, right? Because this is just getting out of hand, and they're almost ran out of numbers completely. I mean, they had a 2520 was the tablet, right? So they can't even go to the 2000 range. So let's get some new names out there.
Okay.
But let's have some
with only
phones
let's say there's 6 models. Can we come up with some
right.
names?
We want people to put up a slide of, hey, our app, our site, our whatever, our service works on your devices, and there's going to be the iPhone, that everyone recognizes. There's probably going to be the Samsung Galaxy S6 or a Note, and you got to have something up there to put up there with a Windows phone, and it can't be a 520 to put up on that slide. So.
God, please no. Okay, so this is developing. There's going to be more. Usually when Microsoft releases, just like they did, I think it was a week ago, there's going to be changes, right? I mean, they warned us. There's going to be difficult decisions made, and they knew what they were doing. This is what they were leading us to. And even when they make these decisions, they know what they're going to do. So it's going to be another week, another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks, and they're going to tell us. I mean, they'll tell us. Don't we have a partner conference coming up soon?
Yeah, it's in Orlando, Florida, where I'm currently located. But you just don't know what the topics are going to be. I haven't been briefed on the topics there. This is my biggest concern. Is the talk that they want to get out of it and push the OEMs to make the devices, just like they want to do with Windows for the most part, right? I just hope that they keep the Surface strategy. I want them to keep the Surface to inspire the OEMs, and I want them to keep Windows Phone. We want them to keep Lumia to inspire the other OEMs. But I gotta be honest, I don't know how many other OEMs really want to make Windows phones at this point. So I don't see how that's their strategy. Yes, there's some Chinese OEMs that have Windows 10 phones ready to ship. They're just waiting on the software, right? But those are probably more international markets, not so much the U.S. But how many of those are there going to be? I don't think Samsung's going to get back into it. Sony was going to for years. They haven't. LG just did with that. I don't even know what you call that device they just released. It does not belong. So I just hope that's not really the strategy that they're going towards.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think if I was an OEM, I would be like, yeah, prove to me you can sell devices, and I'll make one better than yours, or we think we can make one
Right.
better than yours to differentiate, and we'll sell handsets. So until that happens, yeah, until the number goes beyond 3%, which is down to what, like 2.7 now or something. I can't even wear my T-shirt because it's wrong.
Collector's item, Dave. The T-shirts.
Yeah, the oddest slide is, I think Horace on Twitter posted the U.S. market of Windows phones in use, like the number out there in use, hasn't changed in almost 5 years. It's sitting around 5.7 million handsets. Because, like you said, Dave, there's nothing for people to buy. You know, those people that bought the 900, the 920, maybe they got a 1020, but after that, they really had nowhere to go.
And Daryl in chat has said writing down, not writing off. And I told you in the audio, I have to look this up because they are different.
Yep.
They mean different things. But we've gone over that in previous podcasts on the Surface issues. So let's move on, because things are going to, I don't want to beat this dead horse, because more information will come out and we will know more and we will feel better about it, we'll feel worse about it, whatever. And other people are going to talk this issue to death, and we'll let them, because I want to talk about some Windows 10. We have some definites on Windows 10. We know July 29th is the date. And
got to hold you up there. It's the date for what,
okay.
Dave?
I know,
Okay.
but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. And finally, we know that it's running on Surface 3. We know that it's running pretty good, and on Surface Pro 3 as well. So let's talk about Windows 10. Jim, it's kind of your thing here, so I'm gonna open it up to you and John before we get it installed here on our Surface Pro. No, I want you here on dates. Let's talk some dates. So I opened that can. The worms have flown out. I'm going to assume maybe each one of you guys have your cute little icon in your tray, unless you are connected to a domain, which I am, and I don't see it.
Every Windows machine in the house, old laptops on Windows 7, newer laptops on 8.1 with Bing, the compressed OS version, Surfaces, we all have the icons. They're all there. There was a confirmation that current Windows insiders will get Windows 10 Final on July 29th. So that's how I was hoping Windows insiders would receive it early, but they're not. It's going to be on July 29th. That's the only thing confirmed so far. Other users will receive Windows 10 on or after July 29th. So, for example, I was going to take the day off on July 29th. I'm like, it's a Wednesday, Dave. We're going to probably podcast that night. I better be home so I can get Windows 10 installed, so I can test it, so I can try it, so I can talk about it. Well, I don't know if I'm taking the 29th off anymore. I think I better just keep that as a floating placeholder in my calendar, because I don't know when I will personally have Windows 10, because I'm not running the Insider Preview.
Yeah, I think, John, if you're running, 162 right now, you're not going to see that much of a difference between now and the 29th. So, we've been in the latest builds, we are seeing a lot of fit and finish coming on, a lot of stability. If you're on a Surface Pro, Surface Pro 3, there were some firmware updates that were pushed. In fact, my Surface Pro 3 had some problems with those updates that I had to get fixed in there. I had to run them a couple times, uninstall some things, and reinstall them to get them done, particularly the sound card. But I think we're as close to being done with this as we're going to see on the 29th. So I think if you're running an Insider Preview now and you're up to 162, which is the latest build as of today, which is July 8th, and I just checked, no surprise updates going on there. I think you're seeing what you're going to see on the 29th. So Dave, you had told me back in the day, this was months ago when the Insider Previews first started coming out. Don't put that on. That was even but those were the 9,000 numbers back when we were first testing those, and it was awful on the Surface Pro 3. And I've kept it on there the whole time. I kept updating it. I did have to restore it one time, and then I brought it right back up to where the latest update was. 1062. Oh, man, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I've been using it full time. I took it on vacation with me. I used it full time there. I'd gotten to Maryland a month or so ago, and I'm trying to think of the build number. What?
Can I ask
Maybe
you,
the one.
Jim, real quick? Are you running
Yeah.
the latest build? I thought there was another build right after that, or is that
161, I think, was the last one, and then they
Okay.
immediately released 162, which
Okay.
is the build I'm on.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
In fact, both on a Surface Pro 3 and a VM that I have here running both, and pretty darn stable. I've had a variety of problems throughout the upgrade cycle. 162 seems to be. This is one of the first builds I would say for the average guy to go for. If you were waiting for whatever reason, I think now is the time to give it a shot. And I don't think there'll be very much change. They'll clean some things up and make it better between now and July 29th. John,
Sure.
I don't know if you need to take the 29th off. I think you can have it. You'll be rest assured. I don't know if there'll be that much to talk about that we don't already know. I don't think there's going to be any huge surprises on the 29th when it comes to functionality.
Oh no, I expected that already. I'm confident. Like you said, they're just going to clean up some fixes. I'm assuming you guys may get one more build, maybe, but otherwise you'll just get upgraded on the 29th to the RTM. But I was hoping when they call it the RTM that you guys would be able to get that before the 29th. It's just that I haven't used it since it was bad, so I haven't used Edge yet.
Right.
I haven't used a lot of the new apps yet. So I'm looking forward to trying these things out, and that's why I'm excited about the 29th. But yes, you're right. If you're following any of the blogs and the videos out there, there's a lot of great guys that do a video walkthrough of each build and what's changed in it. So if you go back and watch all their videos, you could see Windows 10 grow and also all the new stuff. So yeah.
I've got questions for you guys. So that maybe some other folks are having as well. So I'm not an insider. I'm not running it, but I got the icon and I signed up to run it. Am I going to get that on the 29th?
This
is Surface 3.
We do not know, and it's been implied that not everyone gets it on the 29th.
Okay.
They have to protect those servers because part of it is it's going to grab the download in the background and kind of queue it all up and let you know when it's ready. So you can't have Jim. How many Windows 7 PCs are out there?
Yeah, here.
No,
1.2 billion. Yeah.
Right. So let's say half of those clicked on that icon, or a quarter of them, right? Even 10%. You can't have those all trying to grab the downloads at once. So I think it's got to propagate out, and then in the future this will get better because Windows 10 will kind of do like a mesh network type download, right? So once Jim gets it, then I can get it from Jim, and I can get the other bit from Dave. So after we're all on Windows 10, these updates can roll out much faster and much easier. But this first one, they got.
I think that the kind of the what's the term I'm looking for? Yeah, no, this idea of sharing of sharing. I think that's going to be more applicable at the network level, so at the home network level. So in other words, I download it on one of my PCs at home, and then it shares it out across the home network as more or less than me sharing it with you, right? In a BitTorrent. That's what I was looking for. Okay. In a BitTorrent sense. I'm not going to say that's not going to happen. But I think what they're trying to, because, right, I mean, think about us and how many PCs are in the house, right? If they could ship it to one of my PCs and the rest of it could pick it up locally, man, that saves a ton of bandwidth. So I think there's going to be that. I think the focus early on is going to be the local level. It may get more BitTorrent-ish as that moves on, but initially, don't feel like you're going to become a BitTorrent machine. For Microsoft. I don't see that coming.
Yeah, that was kind of scary when John said that. I was like, oh, wait a minute, you're going to cause a rift here.
Well, as some people will point out, that's just one of those other things that are kind of right now. We don't know exactly what it means or how it's going to. But Jim is probably more correct than I was in my.
No, I think you were correct. I just think the focus, as people think about this, the focus is going to be more in the home.
In the home.
PC sharing with each other.
And I will throw out that if you want to remain a Windows Insider, you can. And this program is going to continue. You will continue to receive builds, updates, patches, all that before the rest of the community.
Correct.
And so I just want to... Well, real quick, Dave. The Insiders get it on the 29th, right? I think there are going to be bunches of people, like you and me, who upgrade on the 29th. I mean, that stuff I think is getting pushed here pretty quick. So I think that's going to happen. I would fully expect a pretty good sized number of people who have opted in early to get that upgrade starting on the 29th. So if it's downloaded, if they've been connected, if you take your PC off the network for the next 3 weeks, and then you put it on the network on the 29th and turn it on, you probably won't have it. But if you signed up for it, I think it'll be staged and ready to go for you, come the 29th. So I would anticipate, again, if you've signed up for it, chances are you're probably going to get it.
That's what I would think too. I got a couple questions for you, Jim, but first I want to make sure that everybody knows that we are Surface Geeks. We're broadcasting live. This is an audio podcast, so you'll be able to get this on YouTube. But if you want to chat with us right now, you can head over to surfacegeeks.com/live. You can ask a question. We've got Microsoft folks in chat room, and Jim's a Windows MVP. John is a phone aficionado. I'm a Surface MVP. Hopefully we will know the answer for your question. Sign up for the live podcast. You can get that at surfacegeeks.com. Check out that blog and check out the forums. I apologize for my nose. I have just returned from an European vacation and have caught some European crud and brought it back to the States. So, I've got a lot of people in chat room, and I'm trying not to pay attention to them. But yes, for the person asking, Alan, that is me. I am HSS Dave. Here goes, Jim. I've got it on my Surface 3. I am on a domain on an essential server because I am a home server kind of guy. What am I going to do, Jim? Am I going to have to wait for an ISO, or can I go out to a website and click something and say, hey, give me Windows 10?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer to that question. That's one I should probably dig in, or we should dig in a little bit. John, you got some?
I was going to say, I don't think it's just you, Jim. I don't think that's been answered yet, because even just a clean install, what we're being told right now is we're going to have to upgrade, make a recovery stick, and then be able to do a clean install. There's still no word of, ISOs are available on the 29th or on the 30th, or I just don't think we know. And I don't know anything about home server. So, but I follow Mary Jo Foley and other people like that, and I've seen them mention this as still being an unknown.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping an ISO option is available very quick, and I would hope, since I'm an MSDN subscriber, that it would be available for MSDN holders. It'd even be nice, Jim. We've seen this before, to have it a day or two earlier. Even for MVPs, sometimes MVPs get the ISOs a day early, and sometimes MSDN gets it a day early, or at least day of. That would be nice.
Yeah, I think from a practical standpoint, if you're a user, you're Windows 7, Windows 8, you're on a domain, you're backing it up with Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials, or even Windows Home Server 2011, I don't recommend you upgrade on the 29th, by the way. Not today, right? I mean, there's certain circumstances where I'm like, yeah, go for it. At this point, in that scenario, you might, if you're in that scenario, you probably have an extra PC you should be testing this on for yourself. From that standpoint, you should be knowing these things. So that's one of those recommendations. It's just like for podcasters, I don't recommend they upgrade their machines, their production, Windows boxes, if that's what they're using for podcasting or whatever. They don't upgrade on the 29th. Don't do that to yourself.
Come on, Jim.
It's crazy.
I'm going to podcast that night, and my production server, which we're on right now, I'm totally hitting the button.
Well, good luck, Dave.
Not.
Good luck. Actually, I think you'll be fine, to be honest. But it's just one of those kinds of things. It's like, look, if you haven't tested this.
Oh,
well, that was like an explosion there.
That was weird. And the chat room has said we've been having trouble.
There's two Jims on the call.
He's off now. I think, Dave, the good news is we're still live, and I think it's gonna still.
We are live. Chat room has said we're having some Google problems. They had to refresh the feed. I saw the numbers of live viewers just plummet, and then they started jumping back up. So obviously Google had some problems. So
that's great. But so no, I don't recommend you jump in on the 29th and upgrade your production stuff. This is, I'd give it. You got a year.
But home users. Okay.
Yeah, Yeah.
Home users. Just hit the button, right?
No.
No, do it.
No, I wouldn't.
Upgrade.
Well, it depends on what you use that PC for, right?
There's no reason to do that, Dave. There's no good reason. I mean, if I'm a home user on a Wednesday, why am I going to do that then? I'm going to set some time up on the weekend, right?
Right.
Saturday,
Ouch.
Sunday, and I think that's probably what they're hoping too. Is, yeah, your machine's going to prompt you. You know how many people, even on their mobile devices, like it drives my mom crazy how many updates that she gets on her Android phone, right? No, later. Later. I'll do that later, And I think Microsoft knows there's a good percentage of home users that are probably going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, my wife's been running Windows 10. I've had her testing that on her PC a couple times. I want to get some feedback from her on that. And when I took it back off to move a new PC into her area, I was like, "So what do you think?" She's like, "I don't think it was that much different than Windows 8 in what it did for me." Basically, she opens a browser window and away she goes. She needs access to Office documents. Those work exactly the same. So in that scenario, I mean that passed the wife acceptance factor here pretty quick, and she usually breaks stuff when she can, right? She's really good at those, like, hey, I know that this has worked for you a million times before, but I touched it and it broke. That's what she does, and she didn't have any problem. And that was 2 builds ago that I had. This was before the most stable build that's on right now. So.
And we've been talking to people because in a corporate environment we got to plan for this, right? The good news is we don't foresee any applications breaking, as long as they were designed to run on Windows 7, right? There were a lot of apps that were kind of hacked, and those could have some issues. Guys that just had to rush it out so it would work on Windows 7 when we left XP. But for the most part, we believe apps are going to run. There may be some user confusion. We're talking users here. Someone who just comes in, uses their computer to do the work, doesn't have one at home really. They might see some things that, oh, what's this, or how do I change my wallpaper now? Just because it's slightly different, right? So we're planning to deal with some of those questions, but for the most part, we don't think things are going to break, quote unquote.
Yeah, no, I think like you said, John, the confusion will be in some of the settings. Like the control panel has completely changed, right? And so for a Windows 7 user, they're gonna be like, a what? I mean, the very first time you open that up, they're gonna be kind of like, hey, where did this? Oh, wait a minute, where did this go? Right? All of a sudden, now your desktop tiles are now in the start menu, and you can move those around and change some things. And you've, especially coming from Windows 7, you have some brand new apps to deal with that have been renamed about 8 times since we went to Windows 8, when we were talking about Groove and Microsoft Music, or Music and Xbox Music and all the changes. We still have some apps being finalized. I think we've got some drivers being finalized. So I mentioned early, I have a Realtek sound card in the Surface Pro 3, and that did not update correctly with 6.2. When I was on 6.1, I was saying, hey, Cortana, and that was working. When I went to 6.2, that stopped working. And I was like, hey, this should, we could talk about Cortana, but I was like, hey, I was shouting at because I wanted to test, the Cortana functionality. I had to uninstall the drivers and then let Windows reinstall them. So I think we're going to see a few issues like that with chipsets and some of those kinds of things. But John, I agree with you. Your apps like Chrome, it's just going to work, right? Edge, we mentioned Edge a little bit earlier. The Edge is a dark horse in this, right? I mean, it has gotten significantly better from the beginning. Is it ready for prime time? Man, I tell you what, the drawing on the Surface Pro 3, the drawing functionality on it, the saving of that, the shipping of the emailing, that stuff didn't work 2 months ago at all, and now it does work. It is fast. It's a fast light browser. It does what you expect it to do. It's on by default now on Windows 10. So even with Chrome installed, it's going to pop every time you pop something, unless you go into the settings and change it. But by default, every time the Edge browser is going to pop up.
Yeah.
It's working. I haven't had any problems with it. Cortana uses it exclusively for all the queries that you run. But is it ready for prime time? Well, if they make as many improvements as they've done in the last 2 months to it in the next month or two, it's probably not going to be too bad of a browser. It just doesn't have anything in it. Right?
Yeah.
You can't do anything with it. I mean, you can.
I'm excited for Edge when it gets the extension support, right?
Right.
You need to replace Chrome. I have to have Add to Pocket. I have to have a couple other things. I probably want an ad blocker. People can get mad at me.
Right.
Yeah, I've got LastPass, Pushable, OneNote, Evernote, Facebook, and add to Pocket. I can see those right now in front of me.
And then
Right.
for the enterprise, we're still concerned because we know that IE 11, I still don't know what to call it, is still there somewhere, But how can w- how's the compatibility, right? Because we already have to migrate to IE 11 as an organization. We haven't done that yet, but then we got to worry about, well, are we going to end up migrating to Edge, or are we forcing some IE 11 thing at the enterprise level? So, and I think users might be curious too. Can they still pop up old
Yeah.
school IE?
Well,
That is
IE
a
11 will be
mess.
available in the enterprise version, right? Windows
Right.
Enterprise will will still be there. In the Pro version that we have, it's not an option
Wow.
that sits
Okay.
on the desktop, right? It's not there. I mean, it's there. It's just not there.
Right.
Well, I kid you guys about Windows 10, and I do recommend that you take it slow, especially if you have applications that you've been using since Vista or XP on your machine. Give it a couple of days, make sure that everything works on Windows 10. The other thing is the chat room has been going off the hook about Media Center. If
Oh,
you have an
please.
HTPC, do not install Windows
Do
10.
not.
We've heard it before. Don't do it. Stay on Windows 7. I have, when I said I was going to install it first day, I will. I'm going to install it on my Surface 3. I'm going to install it on a Surface Pro 3, and just so I know, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk
20
about it.
$20 says you have at least one device that you can install it on that day. I will send you $20, Dave. There's no way
Yep.
all of your devices are going to be eligible for the upgrade.
We'll see. We'll
All right.
see. I only have it on 2. Only have reservations checked
Oh,
on
okay.
2 devices.
Jim, for Office, did you stick with 2013 or are you trying 2016?
I have 2016. Yeah.
Okay, because I was really curious about how those were running together.
Yeah, no changes. I mean, it works great. I can't say I've tested it, a lot in every situation and done, all kinds of pivot tables and spreadsheets and that kind of stuff. But it installed, it works. I've used Word. It's, those kinds of things. I'm not anticipating that much of a difference with 2016. I'm on the 120-day trial of it, and there's just not a lot of changes necessarily there that even matter.
You mentioned the 120-day trial, but you have Office 365, right?
I do. No, I'm running the
Oh.
trial version of Office 2016, not
Okay.
outside of Office 365.
Because you can have it from there.
Say you
The
broke up there,
2016
John.
preview.
Say that again for me.
You can log into Office 365, your control panel on the web, and grab 2016 from there.
yeah.
It's hidden, but you can do it. When you go and pick, I want to download like another version, like you do 32-bit or 64, there's also now a drop down for 2016 preview 32, 2016 preview 64-bit.
Yeah. No, it'll I was running 2013. Was that right? 2013?
Yep.
And then they offered that through MSDN, and so I just grabbed it, downloaded it, put it on there. I needed to move some tiles around. This is my complaint though, man. Come on, Microsoft, make some decent Windows 10 tiles for Office. Right? They just
You don't
suck.
like those?
They just suck. I mean, it's
will
like,
be different.
Couldn't
You
they
know
show
that, right?
like a list of your last 3 open files?
it's a
or,
billion-dollar division, a
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar division at Microsoft, and they can't make a freaking live tile for it. I mean, come on. That drives me nuts. One of those things, because I spent all this time arranging my tiles. I'm like, okay, how do I want this to be, and how am I going to navigate with this? And then you go bring the Office tiles over, and it's like Windows 3.1. You're
Sometimes I don't like live tiles because when they do offer you information, then I can't find them. I'm like, where's
yeah,
where's my
no, that makes
freaking
sense.
thing? And it's
But
I
Dave, they
can't
could
find the marketplace because it's scrolling the last 10 apps that someone downloaded or something.
Yeah, they should make it so you can shut off the live portion of it, but still have the app there. But Office apps, I mean, they've got such a great opportunity to get a really good looking tile. It doesn't even need to be live. They could just have a good looking tile, and it's just not there. They're terrible. I mean, come on.
All right, I understand. I understand your pain. I feel it in some instances of applications.
It's such a the new interface. When we talk about going into the menu, right, it's going to be so good for Windows 7 users coming from this, not the 8.1. We all figured out how to make 8.1 work. But for the Windows 7 guys, I think this setup looks good. I mean, it's going in, they'll be like, oh, okay, I've got these over. Do I need these? No. Okay, let's just remove them, right? I can make it look like Windows 7 if that's what I want to do. Enterprises could go in and build their base image to not even use the live tiles that are on there. You can completely remove that piece, and they're not there. So making that migration from 7 to 10, especially on the enterprise, makes a ton of sense now. When we get there, they're really, really close to having that being. Yeah, you get some new stuff, and you can go in there and change some things as you want to, but I think making the change for them is super easy. The one big change that'll come is this Cortana, right? So now desktop search completely changes. And it's not like browser where you open up Google and you're used to typing it in. Cortana, for the most part, is embedded down there in the toolbar. And I've been testing Cortana, the newest version of it, with voice commands. Man, I am spoiled by the Echo. I am not going to lie. Cortana needs some work. And I think that's one of the things you'll notice, especially on the Surface, where it's particularly good for that Echo-like functionality with Cortana. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're going to be a little disappointed with Cortana. It just is not. I could set timers. I could get calendar things going. I could start an email. I can do all of those things like it, but it's still kind of. It's not all the way there yet, and I'm just super spoiled by the Echo.
Are her jokes bad?
They're not great.
Okay.
I didn't even ask her a joke. I did do 0 divided by 0, and I didn't get a great.
Echo's jokes are pretty good.
Echo's jokes are great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Echo just does some. The Echo is doing some things very, very well. Both Siri and Cortana have a little growing to do, I think, to get there from that standpoint. But the advantage to the Echo, right, is that there's no screen for developers to depend on. And so when we think about Cortana, you ask Cortana a query, it immediately pops up a browser window for you, right? It's the developers are so dependent on visualizations for that. Whereas with the Echo, there's no screen. So you have to provide an environment where you've got to read that stuff back. And I think that's where Amazon's developers are getting it right, because they don't have a crutch. And I think when we think of Siri and when we think of Cortana, there's a crutch. We have a screen. And so they can pop things up, and it would be great to have Cortana just sitting, or to have my Surface just sitting here and get that same functionality that I get out of the Echo. It's not ready for that yet. It's not even close. So I think of all the features that are coming in Windows 10, Cortana is by far the weakest in all the new features that are coming on it. I think the strongest of those is Continuum, right? Especially on a Surface. Man, pop that keyboard on and off, and they finally got it working to go in between tablet mode and in and out of tablet mode. That's working well now. That's very handy to have that pop in and out of. I mean, it works like it's supposed to. And so I'm excited now that it's working, to be carrying. I want to carry the Surface around more, because that works. That I'm confident I can just rip that keyboard off, and it'll ask me, do you want to go into tablet mode? You can configure that. So that piece is working pretty well too.
That's really great to hear. And one thing about Cortana, that can be updated like in the background. You don't even need to install software, because just like with Windows Phone, over time it can show you movie trailers, and it can do this, that, and the other thing. So yeah, they really just have to get the core integrated, and then update the responsiveness, what it knows, what it doesn't know.
Well, Amazon's solely focused on. I mean, imagine if we took all of Microsoft and focused them on Cortana. Imagine how good that could be. Well, there's some other priorities going on right now. I don't think they're too worried about that. I think it can be very, very powerful. But as I've gotten used to the Echo and just talking to it, I started doing that with Cortana to see if it'd work as well, and it just doesn't. Yep. So we got a little work to do.
Okay, so a couple questions for you, Jim. Windows 10, if I wanted to get started now, say I'm listening to this podcast and I have not looked at it, I don't know what the Insider program is for anything. What would I do?
Yeah, so two things. One, go out and download the latest ISO, and I think 162, so 10162 or 10, however you want to say that, is available in an ISO form right now. So you can go out and download that and install it. You're going to need to register at the Microsoft Insider site to do that. I do have a link. I'm working on a Windows 10 Know-It guide for that, but you can just Google Windows Insider program. Go out there and sign up for that. Make sure that your Microsoft ID is registered with the Insider program, because that's the only way you're going to get the fast builds now. And then install it. If you're on a Surface, I would not wipe out your recovery partition. That's still there and it's still viable. It still works, and you want to keep it there in case you need to roll it back. If you're on a regular PC, I still wouldn't wipe out your recovery partition. I would leave that there for now, and I would install the ISO and
Windows 10, when it installs, it will not wipe out the 8.1
not wipe out
recovery
the
partition.
No, it will not.
So it sticks an 8.1 upgrade partition. It doesn't make it Windows 10.
Correct.
Interesting.
As of right now.
They're going to have to change that at some point. Yeah.
At some point they
yeah.
will. Yeah, no,
Okay.
at some point that'll have to get changed. But
Okay, so if I go to insider.windows.com, maybe, and I register, I can get on the fast ring or the slow ring.
yeah, right. Once you have the ISO installed and you're up and running on Windows 10, then you can go into the settings, go to updates, go into that section, hit advanced. In that section, there's an opportunity to get on either the fast or the slow ring. Right now, the slow ring isn't that much slower than the fast ring. I mean, you're the way things are going, and they're doing this in kind of bursts. We'll get a couple updates in a week, and then we won't see anything for a couple weeks, and then boom, all of a sudden some quick updates. So I think it depends when they're ready to send things out and some of that kind of stuff. But right now, I don't think there's that much of an advantage either to being in the fast ring right now. I think we're only going to get one more update before the July 29th date. So if you're on 162, which is the most recent build, I think we're going to see one more maybe before the 29th. But you can get it in, get it installed, get it up and running, check all your drivers. It may be smart to uninstall some things and let Windows reinstall them after the install. These upgrades are not fast. You're going to be at this for an hour at least, getting the upgrade done. You're going to get a little circle, and it's going to tell you the progress. That is a nice addition to Windows 10. We didn't get in all the other builds. There was, that wonky kind of percentage thing, and you could never really tell. The circle now, the update circle where it tells you the percentage and what it's doing and how it's doing it, that is a nice change to the upgrade cycle when you are doing the upgrade to it. It will do that. 162 will do that regardless of no matter what, Windows 7, Windows 8, or a previous version of Windows 10, it's going to go through a complete upgrade. So it's going to take it down, it's going to put it in that upgrade, it's going to run it, you're going to get a progress bar. When you log in for the first time, it's going to update your apps and do some stuff as well. So be ready, do it on the weekends, do it or whenever you have some time. You want to make sure and it's a PC you're not anticipating on using right then, because it's going to take a while to get it upgraded.
Maybe do a backup, especially if you have like QuickBooks.
Oh, I would definitely have your data backed up. That's just smart to do before you do anything. But I would definitely. I wouldn't worry about it wiping it out though. It shouldn't wipe out anything. I've never lost any data doing any kind of upgrade to Windows 10.
Unless you're like John, who would only do a clean install. So.
No, right. But that's you're going to lose it if you're doing.
Well, and everybody listening to this show probably knows. But if you don't know what Jim says when he says ISO, you probably just want to wait for general release dates.
You probably do.
Okay, but I did find it really quickly on Insider. Of course, I was already logged in as an insider. You go to Get Started with your PC, Get Started Now, and one of the first top questions is, hey, do you just want to download the ISO? And you can click that, or you can start now. Last question, and this one is probably for John. Windows 10 Mobile. If I have a Windows 10 phone now, do I just jump on board or
no? In fact,
Dave, stop.
In fact, my good old friend Joe would not listen to me. He's like, he got his Lumia 735 and he knew that the Mail app was going to be better, right? If he upgraded, because it's the Mail app on Windows 10 Mobile is closer to the Outlook client that's now available for iOS and Android that are actually award-winning and they're really good apps. And he puts it on there and he's like, oh, I got my Mail app, but it is not ready for prime time. It just isn't. Now the good news is the next build, we've seen some linked screenshots. You know how Jim was just talking about Windows 10 and like the last one or two builds are kind of the ones that are like, okay, we're here now. Now there's just some fit and finish, some polishing. I have a feeling that we could start seeing that with the next build. Things are going to start looking better. It's going to start to resemble the final shipping version. Microsoft Edge is in there, right? The icons look good. The settings panel works. But I'd still be very, very careful. Unless you have a secondary phone, please do not put it on your primary driver. You will not last more than 48 hours.
Okay. Or it's the Windows reset tool for you.
Yes, and that's the only way to do it. It's a great tool. It works on any Windows machine, and for me, it's been rock solid. No matter what the phone, no matter how many times I've tried to do it. In fact, if it already has grabbed and downloaded the stock firmware for you, it caches it, so it doesn't have to re-download it again. Because I've tried this multiple times, so I'm actually gotten really good at getting my phone back to sleep.
That's messed up.
I did have to use that this week, so the 520 just died. I mean, I couldn't get it. It just kept going over and over and over and over, and it just I'd hear it buzz. It's just shutting on and off for it, and so I went and grabbed that tool, restored it back, and then went through the upgrade cycles, joined the Insider program, all that other stuff, get that set up on the phone. John, I'm at 149 at this point, 10.149. Am I at the latest version then? I've tried updating it, and I don't think I can go any farther. I think I am at it. And one of the things I do like, so like when you go into the settings on Windows 10, and now you go into the Windows, on the phone, they look exactly the same.
That's the best part.
God, that is so nice.
And the mail and calendar clients match.
Yes.
The Windows 10 clients. So I'm trying to double check, Jim. That's the slow ring for sure now. I can guarantee that.
So I just need to get. I probably need to get on a fast ring.
Yeah, you might need to do a fast ring there. But again, this is not your primary.
No, no. It's just It's just a cheap 520 that I've been using to just kind of keep up with. Oh, you know what? I never put the Insider Hub back on here. That's why it's not.
It's 10.149. Latest Windows Mobile.
Then 149. Yeah. Yep. Nope. Then I'm on it. Okay. Good.
I thought you said 136.
Okay.
I thought 158 was the last one, guys.
That's the leaked. That's leaked.
Oh, is that a leak?
Shipping.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't
want that
with almost every build. You see the leak build, and then a few days later, you see that build, or one or two builds later. Go ahead and push out. So.
Okay, so 149 is the latest Insider, but 158 is a leak. Okay, so my go-to Windows phone for testing has improved. I started with the 520, then I went to the 635, and now I'm at the Lumia Icon. So actually, I have a really nice
lucky you.
play with phone. So,
and you can finally install that. Yeah, that's the one reason I'm kind of also want the 640, even if it's not my daily driver. It would be an upgrade from my 635, even RAM-wise. So I've even thought of just getting, I think it's a 535 or something like that. That it's a smaller phone, very low powered, but does have 1 GB of RAM. I think the 635 was like the last 512 megabyte phone that they really pushed out. But
yeah, I think 512's rough. I'm not gonna lie. This is a tough. With the 520s.
Every time you multitask, go back to an app, it's like
it's not great, but at least it gives me something to have, right? I mean, at least gives me an idea.
You can see it.
Yeah, sort of.
It turns it into like an e-ink display, but with color. You know what I mean? Just one.
I found there's a little bit more satisfaction just in chunking that one than you get running Windows 10. I don't know about the 520. But
well, it's all I got at the moment. I've been kind of waiting for a good deal to pass me by on a Windows phone at this point.
Really, 635's been all over the place.
No, I don't want a 635.
That's only got 512 RAM.
Newer.
You look for like a 640.
Something newer, yeah. 640 would be nice.
Under 100, yeah.
It's tough because you're getting into that $200 range.
I'd even look at that the one we were just talking about, right?
XL,
a 200 and it's like. Yeah. It's like, well, okay.
And you can get it for 200, and you can get the dual SIM version. So if you travel, that's a great travel phone to have. So
if I find a deal on it somewhere, that's maybe one I snag.
Maybe we will do that at Meetup 2015. We'll get friends and family cards from Microsoft probably, and we'll go to the store and we'll all buy 640s. Hopefully, we could buy 940s. That will be in September, so I don't know. I do not know.
Maybe we'll see.
Okay, so I just wanted to lob those little softball questions out at you in case someone was watching and they wanted to kind of jump on and get into the game. So
I'd say if you got an extra device, give it a shot right now. I wouldn't wait.
Fun.
By the way, that'll update just for you right on through, so you don't have to do it again. So if you do it now, it'll just stay upgraded, and you won't have to do anything more to it. You can just leave it. You'll get the updates. Boom, you're in and working. So if you got an extra PC, you can put it that way. It does run very nicely in a VM on Windows Server 2012. So since we're not doing a home server show tonight, if you're running Windows Server 2012 R2, maybe you got a VM instance up there, you can drop that ISO in there and test it inside. I have one of those images up and running too, and that you can't take advantage of Cortana. It works great in desktop mode. I mean, I've got full time on it on this one side here when I'm working on it, and I don't see any difference. So it's a good way for our home server friends to give it a try. If you've been holding off,
now back.
Yeah, now definitely back. But on the Surface, again, Continuum, pull that thing apart and it flips into tablet mode and goes full screen for everything, and you're that's what it should have been, right? So
yeah, and it's going to be real nice on Surface 3.
Yeah,
Surface Pro 3 I still like to use in a desktop kind of situation because it's got a bigger screen, but Surface 3 is it's fantastic with Continuum. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, we are at about an hour and a half. This has been Surface Geeks number 94. If you're listening on audio, this was available in video. Go to youtube.com/surfacegeeks. I'd love to see you out in the forums asking these kind of questions. We've got folks that pop into the forums that know the answers on a lot of this stuff. So surfacegeeks.com, click that forums link. And also, there's a podcast player right there in the front. You can listen to the latest episode, and you can grab the past episodes right there in your browser. Just leave it running and listen to the audio podcast there. Subscribe. If you subscribe via iTunes, it'd be nice if you went out there and gave us a couple of stars. 5 would be nice. If you can't give it 5, then email me, podcast at just email me anything at homeservershow.com or david@mccabe.io. If you can't give it 5 stars, then please let me know. Guys, what else? The Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com. Find more podcasts like this one. Find Jim's podcast, the Home Gadget Geeks, and you can find the Agnostic Tech podcast with Mr. John Wiskowski out there.
Yes, please tweet at Real Darren Cohen and ask him when we're recording another podcast.
Oh, gonna put a little crowd pressure on him, huh? I like that. Dave, we have Amber coming up. Amber Gott from LastPass coming up. We're going to talk primarily about 2 things: the breach and Edge.
Wow.
So I tweeted her a ways back about, hey, what are you guys doing with the plugin for Edge? And she was, at the time, this was when they were still calling it Project Spartan. To the time, she was like, Microsoft has not even delivered specifications to us yet for writing plugins. Now, this was a month or 2 ago, so hopefully we'll quiz her on that as well. And then, so LastPass is coming on. We'll talk. And I wanted to get past the breach problem that they had. There was a lot of questions around. I didn't want to jam them in there when it was hot and heavy. They learned a lot through it, and so she'll be back on to talk a little bit about what they've done since then. And if you're using LastPass and you haven't turned on dual factor for everything, you should be.
And when is this going to be, Jim?
Let me look that up. That's coming up. I knew. I think it's in 3 weeks. Give me
just so I know, so I could just subscribe to your show and it'll pop up.
That's so nice of you. Since I just threw that out there and then said that's
when is it, Jim?
It's August. It's actually August 13th, so it's a little ways away. But if you haven't subscribed to Home Gadget Geeks, just search for that. We're everywhere, so just search for that and get it in your podcast player.
Yep, everybody get out there. Just go to thegeeksnetwork.com. Every show is listed out there, and you can click on them. You can subscribe to them. There's a couple of forums. Don't forget homeautomationforums.com. If you're into home automation, get out there as well. The meetup, if you are in the general Indianapolis area, Illinois area, or within a 10-hour drive of Indianapolis.
Just was, by the way. Just was.
I know. You need to be coming to the meetup. Meetup 2015 is happening September 12th in Indianapolis, and we're going to have all this stuff that we talk about, all the gear that I review. Even there's more gear sitting around here that we will have that you just can't even see. We've got tons of stuff. All the guys in the chat room, they're coming. Jim's coming. John's coming. Let's have a good time. Come out to meet up. We'll talk gear. We'll talk Microsoft. We'll talk tablets and servers and home automation. Have a great time. Guys, thanks for podcasting with me tonight.
Good to be here.
Thanks,
All right,
Dave.
Surface Geeks number 94. Everybody in the chat room, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you in the forums.
Keep it groovy.
All right. Thank you, YouTubers, for hanging in there
Yeah.
for the hour and a half. We were up to... I didn't even see it when it was like huge, but it was well over 40 YouTubers. So
That's
Oh,
because
good,
Jim
yeah.
was here.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Jim
It's the shirt.
automatically
It's the shirt that
triples the live show. Jim gets all 30 machines in his house.
that's all I do. I get everybody, the kids.
Yeah.
I get my family.
iPads, whatever you got.
I get log everything into the live stream.
You call the office, anyone's still there. Hey, log in.
Hey, the whole tech support area at night. The guys
service
that working
desk.
overnight. They just get logged in. Put it on the big screen.
Computer operators, fire up the servers, get them on.
I finally was able to log in as the mod. It was getting kind of crazy.
You know, there are a lot of people. I haven't been on Surface Geeks in a while. That's why I think the last time I was on it was in the 80s. What were we, 94? And it's like every other week, so that was like 6 months ago.
No,
But,
it can't be that long.
I think it was 88 the last time I was on. So that was
Yeah,
probably-
Jim's been traveling.
Because I've been on every show since he's been on. You've only done that one interview show without me.
Oh, yeah, we did the Windows Phone guys.
Pocket Cast, baby. Shifty Jelly. Still the best app in the Windows Store.
Well, I don't know what's going on with the stats, or maybe it's just Microsoft out there clicking download, but since I went on vacation, I've got tons of downloads.
on Surface Geeks.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that too with our show.
In Libsyn?
Taking a break does not seem to hurt. In fact,
No, it doesn't.
people have a lot of podcasts to listen to. I know because I do. And I have a lot of shows saved up that I save for car trips, when I'm going to go on a car ride, stuff I think that my mom might not mind listening to or whoever else I'm going to be hanging out with. So I do queue up a good number of shows. And so I'm sure some of our listeners say, you know what, I haven't heard some Surface Geeks in a while. Let me catch up.
I caught up with you guys. I had 15 hours down to south central or to southern Ohio, and then 15 back. And I listened to you guys. I caught up on Agnostic Tech, so
Nice.
it was good to get caught up.
Yeah, I might need to dig into just the log files, but supposedly these folks like Libsyn, they sort that out. They don't count the same IP address if you download it twice or something.
Blueberry the same way? I think they are the same way.
Blueberry is even more restrictive. Yes.
So if I'm in my house and I have my phone and my tablet with Pocket Cast, I do set them to auto download. It'll only count that as one download.
There's an algorithm. Yeah, I think there's time involved. Maybe
But
if
it's
you did
possible.
download it like 48 hours later, I mean,
Okay.
honestly, that should be a play, right? That should count.
I didn't see any jump on my numbers. So whatever you guys are doing, you're doing it right.
I honestly think that, like what John said, when I get too many podcasts in my queue, you know what I do? I delete them all.
Yeah,
You
go on
need-
amnesty.
But I have downloaded them,
Mhm.
so that does click. That's in their stats. I downloaded it. They get the click, right? I may not listen to it, but I did download it. And I honestly think when you take time, 2 weeks between a podcast, it gives people time to catch up.
Yep.
I see my numbers go up. If I go week to week to week, my numbers go down.
Because they can't keep up, and then they don't. Oh, I didn't listen to the last one, but I want to listen. Should I listen to this one? All right, now I got 3 queued up. Right, I've been there. Well, shouldn't I go back? But no, that's old news now, and you just give up. Just screw it.
Yeah.
I
gonna
delete
listen to
all but
NPR.
the most current one, in that situation.
Yeah, you can set
all-
your apps to do that too. Just save one most recent. Two
Right.
most recent. Whatever.
Yeah, you don't even want to know what mine is. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go into
Fine.
Pocket Casts because you can look real easy with Pocket Casts. I have a downloaded, not played, 241.
Oh my good, that's downloaded.
God.
What do you got? A 128 gig SD card? And what are you saving these things? Downloaded.
Yeah. Downloaded, not played. I'm not
It's a
listening
little bit of
like I
work.
used to.
Yeah.
I listen to a couple. If an ATP actually comes across my screen, I listen to it.
And by ATP, you mean the Agnostic Tech Podcast.
Correct.
Thank you.
Like I have Gruber, I have 7 of his, I have 9 of The Verge. I don't listen to them.
Ah, you missed some good Gruber shows. The Verge, you can just auto delete those. Dave, give me access to your account, and I'll log into Pocket Cast Web, and I'll go ahead and clean that up for you.
You'll curate it.
Yeah.
them some
Oh,
curated
that's a
actually.
good service.
Yeah.
Someone said I should rent myself out for like what phone to buy and that kind of stuff. And people will put their Amazon shopping cart together, and then I'll go in and sort through it.
I ran out for 15 hours of travel either way.
Travel just pegs them. Yeah. When
I ran out.
Or like if I'm sick, I'll forget it. By the end of the weekend, like if I take a Friday off, I'm not feeling a 3-day weekend.
You don't have enough podcasts, Jim, if you ran out.
I get quite a few. It was one of those things I had spent a lot of time in the car before we went.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just cleaned them out that first, and then it's a weekend, so a lot of people don't publish new on the weekends. And I was traveling on a Monday night / Tuesday. So I found a few new ones to get access to, but I was surprised. I streamed some YouTube we were listening to some comedy on YouTube, and I was coming across Illinois, and I wasn't having any trouble getting the video to play, and I was getting really good audio off YouTube in the car.
LTE.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, this is sweet. Sprint,
yeah, if I recall. But hey, that's where you are. That's a.
Don't judge me, John.
You should be the ad guy for Sprint. What dead zones? I drove from here to here.
The one guy.
That's all you need, man.
The campsite we were at, we had no coverage, so it was.
Jim can be to Sprint what Jared was to Subway.
Exactly.
And if you're
they should hire me.
Yeah, if you're up with recent news, you'll know how that works.
I wouldn't be talking about Subway guy right now.
I might be a little handsy, but
well, you get popular.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get popular and then ruin it.
You want to?
Yeah. What's more fun, getting popular or ruining it in
just ruining
15 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah. Just driving into the ground.
Yeah. Gives new meaning to a 6-inch.
All right, chat room. Join us later for Snack Break Weekly coming up at 10:45.
Yowza!
All right, YouTubers.
Should have seen that one coming.
Sorry about that. You knew that was coming, right?
I know. I should have seen it coming.
That's what she said.
All right, YouTubers, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you out there in the forum, surfacegeeks.net/forum, surfacegeeks.com/forums. It's good to see new guys in the chat room. Good night, guys.